Hey, welcome back to the table. So, since I had already covered this game once before, I really struggled. What I decided to do is I put this in the same playlist because I like to keep all my videos together for the same game. I'm going to have to come up with a new name for it. So that last video was called the Convicted Board Game Setup, which I'm sure is very similar to the first time I played, which was probably the Convicted Board Game Setup Part 1 or something like that. So I'm going to have to call this second playthrough or something. So I may rename, so this video may have a different name than the setup video that went with it. And anyways, my apologies. I hope it's not too confusing for you. Okay, so what do we do during our turn? Every round has two major phases to it. It has an action phase and a siege phase. So the action phase is always first, and then the siege phase is last. Now, the siege phase, I'm sort of going in reverse order here, but the siege phase has step 1 through step 14. There's 14 steps in the siege phase, and then they repeat until the battle's over. Many of these steps can be skipped, especially in the early game. In the late game, you're going to probably do a lot of these. Some of them are just, they're steps that, they're very quick. But it can be, this is definitely a meaty thing. So when you get this game, this is where most of the people's questions are. I even had questions. The designer helped me to understand some of the rules better. Some of the rules were a little not clear, and then now they are more clear. But anyways, in the action phase, it's as simple as, like I said, we have 12 actions, 3 each. And we have to start with player 1, so the pickpocket has to go first, has to spend all 3 of his actions, or hers in this case, and then once they're done with their 3 actions, then the next player can go, and then the next, and then the next. So what are the actions that you can do? Well, you can recruit from the barracks. That's action 1. And then the cost to recruit from the barracks is here. So you can see the spearmen and archers each cost a wood. But right now, the spearmen are the only ones that are available. The archers we have to research at the library. So, and then the cost to recruit troops gets progressively more expensive. We can recruit a siege equipment. This is the siege equipment list. We have stones already in place. That's a level 0. We cannot buy additional stones. I don't know why he put a price here. I think he said it was something about if you do scenarios. But in our scenarios, the stones are free. We start the game with them. You don't need to buy any more, okay? But the cauldron, you do need to buy, and that costs a wood. So there's cauldrons. Then eventually we can get catapults, ballistas, onagers, and then bombards. So action 1, action 2, action 3 is we can get resources, and then action 4 we can build any of these buildings. There's 1, 2, 3 buildings here, actually 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 buildings to choose. 5, I'm sorry. Let me back out even more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 buildings to choose from, right? We can build any of those. You got to have the right technology, et cetera, et cetera. Level 1 of everything, I think almost everything is available. The walls we can build. We start with a level 0 wall. And then we eventually can get a level 1, level 2, et cetera. And then the towers, same deal. And then the ditches and the moats. And I forgot that there's sharpened stakes too. I put those away. The sharpened stakes are inferior to the ditch in most cases. I don't like the sharpened stakes. That's the reason why I didn't even bother getting them out of the game. But you can have a choice. You can build a ditch or a sharpened stake. And the sharpened stakes will just kill units as they run over them. The ditch delays them by 1 full round. And that is just so much more powerful. Now, there are flying creatures, and I think the spiders or whatever can jump over the ditch. I mean, there are some exceptions that'll make you think maybe the stakes are better. I'm not trying to argue with you. In my playthroughs, I usually don't play with the stakes. The stakes are high. Not high enough. Now, what you do basically is a progression. You have to build this one or that one. And then once you have either of these built, you can build a moat as a second. So it would take you 2 actions. 1 action to place a ditch or the sharpened stake, and then a second action to turn it into a moat. So if you wanted to have everything be a moat immediately, it's 2 actions per section. Now, this is a section which looks really big, but you also have the corner, you have this, you have this, and then you have that corner. And in order to fully block a southern advancing army, you need to have the whole section, including the corners, completely finished. So if you have a moat here and only a ditch or a sharpened stake here, then there is no moat. Even though there's one here, it's a partially completed moat, which doesn't do anything during the battle. It doesn't have the power of a moat unless the whole southern section is completely finished with the moat. So that's something to bear in mind. Now, it just costs an action, and you can see here it actually costs a wood as well. So the ditches are actually free. See, that's why that has a dash. Sharpened stakes cost a wood, which is one of the reasons why I don't like it. And then the moat costs a wood. I don't remember these costing anything. I thought they were completely free actions. That might be a typo. I'm going to look real quick in the rulebook. I don't remember them ever costing anything. They cost actions, which is already expensive because actions are very limited in this game. 1 second. Okay, well, my hunch was wrong. So the ditch and sharpened stakes, both of them cost no wood. That's what that little dash means. It's free. The moat does cost 1 wood. And then the moat's special ability is that it counts as a ditch and a sharpened stake together. So it has the ability of the ditch to delay everybody by 1 round, and it also kills people like a sharpened stake would. So the moat is just superior in every way. It's both of them. But it does cost 1 wood. So my apologies there. And then you can build a keep, the level 2 and level 3, and they give you some mighty fine bonuses along the way. Okay, so a couple more things to help you out. The level 0 stuff is not very well documented. You can see it's like really hard to see. It's just, basically just a hodgepodge set of wooden stakes in the ground. The level 1 keep, same deal. It doesn't really have much going for it. But what you can see here is that a wall at level 0, this 3 means that it holds 3 people. So right now I have 2 spearmen there. I only have enough capacity to add 1 more unit to that wall. So I can't ever put a 4th unit on that wall. Now the towers at level 0 has a capacity for 2. So you could argue, yeah, we can just put some people in the towers or whatever. But remember, I told you they're only useful if they're ranged. So we would need to get archers before we could do that. This little SM and some of these little notations, basically, this is saying that once you get to level 2 tower, you can put a siege equipment, a siege machine. So basically, I can put like a catapult up in the tower, and then it has the same abilities as the archer, and it's helping the archers out. So you could have 4 archers in a tower plus a catapult. Here you could have 4 archers and 2 catapults, and then so forth. The RFS is the ranged fighting strength. So when you shoot arrows, it's going to have a certain strength to it. And that's over here on the combat side. That's what these little symbols mean. So this is the melee strength. So spearmen have a melee strength of 2. The archers still can participate in melee, but it's just a crappy 1. This is the health of the unit. So 1 hit kills a spearman, 1 hit kills an archer. So it doesn't take much to kill them. Or I'm sorry, no. That's the shield. That's what the shield means. The plus is this idea of groups. So you form combat groups where a unit's up front, and then you're going to have units that are behind it. And those are units that are supporting the unit up front. So what it's saying is that an archer is just as strong in support as it is up front. If you have 2 spearmen, the first spearman is going to have 2 strength, but every spearman behind him is only going to have 1. So the spearmen would be great combat group leaders, right? And then you can put like the archers behind them. Anyways, I'm getting a little ahead of myself. There's some math here, but and here you can see the swordman eventually has a strength of 3, and then a follow support strength of 2, and he has 2 hit points. And so they do get progressively stronger. Now, the point I'm trying to get to this is that the archers have 1 range strength. The crossbowmen have 2, the arquebusier have 3. Now, with that being said, coming back over to here, the RFS of ranged units and strength of flying units of the aggressor is -1. So what this is saying is that the level 4 tower, when the enemy's ranged units or their flying units are attacking the tower, their range strength gets reduced by 1 because it's protecting. The towers are so good at protecting. And then the RFS of the defender is +1. And that's us. That's us. So an archer, because we're the defender, an archer in a level 4 tower normally only has 1 attack strength. It now becomes 2, and Aquabazier becomes 4. So as you get to level 4, some nice magic starts happening. And then here in level 5, our strength goes up by +2. And that's the RFS. Now, it says RFS of defender. The reason it says that is because there's an RFS of your archer, crossbowman, and Aquabazier. That's the ranged fighting strength. But there's also, you see the symbol's exactly the same. There's a ranged fighting strength of your ballista, your onager, we have ranged fighting strength of our catapults too. And so it's adding to those as well. So these towers become super duper powerful when you get to the higher levels. And the walls do the same thing. So at level 4, the RFS of ranged units and strength of flying units get -1. That's good for us because it's bad for the enemy. And then when you get to level 5, the stones and cauldrons get a +1, which is very interesting. And then what's not written here is, and I'll show you, when you grab these, the way you read these is it shows you here that this shows that this level 1 wall is going to let you have 4 people on it. It's got a strength of 1. That's why it has a 1 there. And then what we do is we will put this on like so, and that represents that it has 1 health. So the walls can get damaged. They don't technically get destroyed, but they can get reduced to level 0 by being damaged. And then this S just means it's the south wall. It's just a little indicator so I know where to put it. Then when you go to level 2, you can see it goes to 6 troops on the wall, and then it's just going to have 2 health. Then when you get to level 3, it's 8 troops. Then when you get to level 4, it's 10. And then level 5, it's 12. So you progressively get better and better support for units on the wall. And then, like I said, the towers, same deal, 3, then 4 and a catapult, right? And then 4 and 2 catapults, then 4 and 2 catapults. But remember, the level 4, it's not written on here, but you get the +1 to all of your range. And then the level 5 gets the +2. And again, it's not written on there. So there's some things you do sort of have to just remember, I guess. It would have been nice if it was all written on there, but it's not. It is written here, though, which is very helpful. Okay, one last thing to go over, and then we can finally get going here. This is the library deck. This is all the technology we can research in the game. One thing you need to do before you get started is make sure you study what's available. So we have a library. I believe we have, we don't even have a library level 1, do we? No, we don't. So we're going to have to build a library level 1 to even be able to unlock these. But let's check it out real quick. You need archery. So archery allows the construction of the second level of the barracks, and the second level of the barracks lets you train archers. Okay, so everything's going to be linked, right? We have to build a library first, then we have to research this second, then we have to build a second level of barracks third, and then and only then can we train an archer. That's 4 actions, by the way. So build a library for 1 action, research archery for 2, build a second level barracks for 3, and then finally hire the archer for 4. And that's not counting the number of times you got to do resource actions just to get enough resources to build those buildings. So it's going to take us a while. Cauldrons. Again, that's something you have to research, and then we can put cauldrons on every wall. Cauldrons, I didn't go into that real quick, but it's pretty simple to explain. The stones, we're going to roll a d3, and that's how much damage it does. So it's going to do 1, 2, or 3 damage to the enemy. A cauldron will do, it's basically you get to roll 2 dice, d3 times 2. Okay. Then, of course, the catapult gets better and better. It's a 3 plus d3, you know, etc. So they sort of go better. But here's the thing. The stones and the cauldrons go on the walls. The catapults and everything else can only go on the towers, and only when the tower can support it. Now, they can also go on the keep. We haven't talked about the keep very much, but the keep has special abilities as well. And then the keep also increases the fighting strength of people that are on the keep. So you can have, I think, 3 or 4 troops in the keep, and you can put archers there as well. And I believe the number right now is 2. I have to look that one up. Once you build the level 2 keep, then it's written on the... Here. See, the level 2 keep has a capacity of 4, and then a level 3 keep has 4 plus 2 siege equipment. So you can't put siege equipment here until you get this one. But here you could have 4 archers on the keep. And I actually think you can't do any archers on the keep right now until you build that. And then what it's saying is they get a +1, because I guess if you're in the keep, you have like a command center control. But anyways, they get extra damage for being on the keep. Fortifications. After you'd mentioned the fortifications, it's possible to build wooden walls and towers. So I can't upgrade my walls and towers until I get this. So you can see the library is like a first priority. We got to get going here. And then stone masonry allows us to get stone as part of our resource action. So we can't do that. So it's 4 technologies. So this is 4 actions, right? It's going to cost us 4 actions to research all these, and then a 5th action to build the library, and then maybe a 6th and 7th action because we're going to have to gather resources so we can build the library. So that's where the economic part of this game comes in, and that's, I think, why I like this game so much, is the economic part is good fun. There's a lot of choices. Now, I think the reason people say this is formulaic is that building that library first is probably the only choice, and therefore some people don't like the idea that you can't like try other things because this seems to lock you in, that you have to do the library first. I don't know. I'm not, it doesn't bother me. So what does the library cost? It costs 5 wood. Okay, so the pickpocket can build the library for 4, and she goes first. So one of the things that we could do is we could just spend an action to gather resources. Okay, and remember, the gather resource action lets us get 2 wood. And that's what she's going to do. But she's going to spend the 2nd action to build that library. So these 2 wood plus the 2 wood she just gathered is her 4 wood. And let's get that library level 1 going. And like I said, I have everything over here for me to grab. And the library is in the top left corner. So I have it laid out where the level 1's on top, and then, you know, level 2, 3, 4, 5 is below. So if we just grab the level 1 library, looks like that. And it goes on the board like so. All right, so we got level 1 library in place, and let's get some technology going. So for the 3rd action, we're going to research one of these. And gosh, I don't know which one is the best, but I'm going to go ahead and do fortifications. So, boom. So that allows us to build wooden walls and towers. Now you can keep this in front of you to remind you that that's what that allows you to do. I don't worry about it too much because I've played this game enough, but I'm just going to put it off to the side to show that we researched it. These 3 are still up for grabs. Now, I do recommend that we get those walls and towers up because obviously defense is a great offense. This is just like the NFL. But we're going to move on to the Counterfeiter now. And remember, the Counterfeiter can take any resource and turn it into another resource. Not super helpful, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to spend 1 action to get 2 wood. Then I'm going to spend another action to research stonemasonry. So now we can get stone instead of wood if we wanted to. And then the free action is I'm going to take 3 of these wood and turn it into stone. And we're going to use the bricks. I do, when I play the game, I do like to use these. And so you might see me grab those from time to time, but I think the brick will, that's a nice touch. Okay, that was a free action. Like, he just gets to convert. And then we have one more action. And so we're just going to keep this going. He's going to research archery. So let's get everything researched so we can get stuff built and going here. So that's what he'll do. He could have built a wall. Remember, the wall only costs 1 wood. Actually, that's what... Ugh. Yeah, we're going to do that instead. I'm not going to research archery yet. I'm going to build a wall. And we need to designate the... so this will be north, west, east, south. Okay, so, you know, I'll maybe move them a little bit like that. So that's the west, that's the east, and that's the south. So he's going to build a west wall. So I'm going to come over here, and there's a west wall, level 1. Okay. And he's spending that 1 wood he has to do this. So now we got a 2 spearmen on a wall. We have our boulders. They stay with it. And then we grab one of these to show that it's at 1 health. And there you be. So now we got 2 spearmen on the wall. And that does work, by the way. You don't need to have the towers finished. When the enemy comes, they do have to scale that wall. So that does become effective, even though the towers aren't yet complete. A little different than the moat in terms of rules. Okay, so now we're moving on to the Smuggler. And the Smuggler has the ability to get double resources. What the Smuggler is going to do is obviously going to grab some resources. We don't need brick yet. The Counterfeiter just took advantage of its free ability. So we're going to get 4 wood instead of 2. Because that's his ability. He gets to take double. And so then he's going to just build a wall with 1 of them. And that wall for him is on the east side. So we'll go ahead and... Oh, I got to get up to reach. So that wall is here. Like so. And then for his final action, he will research archery. Because the research has to get done. And yeah, he has a lot of wood. And what he's going to do is he's going to give all this wood to the pickpocket. Actually, he could give it to the deserter. Let me think about that. Because the deserter could start hiring archers. The Barracks level 2 costs 4 wood and 1 brick. Actually, what he's going to do is he's going to give his wood not to the pickpocket but to the Counterfeiter. So now the Counterfeiter is going to have enough to build the Barracks. Okay, so Smuggler's done. Now we have the deserter. The deserter is going to spend 1 wood to get a spearman. And then he has the ability to get another spearman for free. So we're going to get 2. And those spearmen, I know he's responsible for his wall, but he really can, because you can move your troops around before the battle begins. So it doesn't matter. We're going to go ahead and put 1 there, and we're going to put 1 by the front gate. So we're going to protect the north and the south, which doesn't have the walls built yet, to help out. And he still has 2 more actions. So the Cauldron is actually something he could do. It's not a bad thing to have cauldrons. So he's going to go ahead and spend that to research cauldrons. And then he'll spend his last one to build a cauldron. So we're going to go ahead and get one of those out. And the cauldrons are in my little thing I was telling you about. They look like this. All right, where do we put it? Basically, you can have one on each wall. I already put extra spearmen on the north and south, so I'm just going to go ahead and put it. Well, actually, he has to put it on his wall. I'm sorry, he's responsible for his wall. That's the only place he can put it. Everybody else has to build their own cauldrons. So, so what do? We built walls on the east and west. We built extra troops on the north and south. We have a cauldron on the south. We built the library, and we researched all 4 technologies from the library. So everything that we could research has been done. So what did we unlock? We unlocked the ability to build walls and towers. We unlocked the ability to build cauldrons. We unlocked the ability to build a level 2 barracks, which will let us build archers eventually. We still have the ability to build a workshop. And we also have the ability to build a mage tower and a cleric tower. Now, the library level 2 will unlock better resource gathering. Construction will let us build level 2 keep and level 3 workshop, level 3 barracks. So you need this to be able to continue. The mining will let us get iron, crossbows for crossbowmen. It doesn't let you get crossbowmen, it lets you get the level 3 barracks, which lets you get the crossbowmen. And then this lets you build the second level of the workshop so you can get catapults, and then the chainmail. I think, and let me think about this. What does the level 1 workshop do? I may need a level 1 workshop to be able to build. I may not be able to build that cauldron yet. Oh, let me look at it again. See, look, I didn't read it. Cauldrons. Technology allows the construction of the first level of the workshop, and then that allows you to build cauldrons. So I can't build a cauldron yet. I have to build a workshop first. So let's take that back. I knew I was doing something a little out of order. So I'm going to take that back. I'm going to take my resource back. And I still have one action. So what do? I'm building a wall. That's what I do. So we'll build our southern wall with that action. So the south wall is very strong at the moment. And boom. That is it for the action phase. We've used all 12 actions. So now we go to the combat phase. So first thing we got to do is we have to rearrange our guys, and we're happy with them. Yes. I could overanalysis that one forever, and it's not going to matter. So I rolled a 2, and then the 2 corresponds to the forestmen, and the forestmen are going to come out. So now I have some additional things here to show you. I made these myself. They are on Board Game Geek as a resource for you to download. I think they are phenomenal. Not to pat my own back, but I use these so much. The first one, this is the resources you're going to get if you win the battle. So we're going to go up against the forestmen for the first round. So we're going to get 3 wood for winning this round. Doesn't sound like much, but that's pretty much on par with every other. I think it's 3 wood for everybody. The other thing is, this is where it's earning its money. So you have beasts here. This is the barbarians. This is the forestmen. And then this is the wolfmen. Okay? It looks like an awful lot of stuff, but let me just bear with me. So remember how I told you there's different color cubes? You have the black cubes, you have the gray cubes, and then you have the brown cubes. Well, the black is, of course, archer and archer veteran, heavy footman veteran, assassin veteran. What this is, these are the round numbers, and then these are the troops that are coming out on the board. Now, forestmen never have battering rams or catapults. That's the reason why you see the slashes. They also never have siege towers. But they could have ballista, trebuchet, cover, bridge, and then, of course, their big boss. So what I have here is just a nice little chart of what comes out in what round. So for round 1, heavy footmen are coming. And then this 2 is for the main attack direction is going to be 2 heavy footmen. And then every other direction is going to have 1. That's what that 2/1 means. Okay? It's so wonderful. If you didn't have this, you would have to flip through the rule book in like 2 different sections to be able to get all this information. And now, one other thing. This here is a special rules section. So MAD stands for Main Attack Direction. So the forestmen roll a die to determine what their main attack direction is. The wolfmen always attack the weakest. So wherever you have the weakest troops, that's where they go. And then everybody else rolls. So you can see there's special rules there. So for the forestmen, we're going to roll. And then this is color-coded. So see how this is peach? Basically, the peach part is what the special boss does. So when the special boss is out there, all melee units are immune during step 1, which means your archers can't hit them. All ranged attacking from the MAD, main attack direction, get an extra damage. And then no blessing spells are allowed ever. So they're immune to cleric spells, is what that means. And then this is brown, which means that's a special ability only for the assassins. Their strength for support for all defenders in the group is -1. So that's us. They reduce our strength for our support units by 1. So our support units aren't going to be as strong if they're in hand-to-hand combat with their assassins. So, do you need to even know any of this at this point? No. We don't have a cleric building. Their boss isn't out, so these first 2 rows don't apply, and they have no assassins in this particular battle. So none of this applies, but I just wanted to show that all that information is here for when you need it. And again, this stuff would be on another page in the rule book, and everything's in one convenient section. So it's really well done. It's one of my finest achievements as far as board games go. I really love this chart, and it's near perfect. So like I said, 2/1, let's go ahead and get that going. So what is bizarre is they're not coming out with any archers. So they're going to come out, and even though it says heavy footmen, it's the smaller cubes. So we're going to have 2, and then we're going to have 3 more. Why? Because it's 2/1. So we're going to roll for main attack direction. I rolled a 4. Now what direction is that? It's right here. So you can see 1 and 2 is north, 3 is south, 4 is west. So they're coming from the west. So we take the west side and we put 2 guys out in the catapult zone. And we put 1, 1, and 1 in all 3 other directions. And that's what we got. So now, the battle begins. So we are in the ranged weapon phase. Defenders, range units attack. That would be us. We have no range units. Skip. Invaders, range unit attacks. Skip. Siege machine phase. Defenders, siege machine attack. Skip, skip. We don't have anybody. Maneuver phase. Regroup the enemy to the foreground zone. So what does that mean? They're all moving forward. So yeah, if we would have had archers, they could have been picking them off, as they were coming in. So now, after they move in, our range units get a second attack. Okay, so that's very important to understand. We don't have any. We could regroup our defenders. So what this means is we can, rearrange like where they're standing and move them around. The invaders' range units get a second attack. So so far we've done only one of the steps out of all 8 of these. So now we have to form combat groups because basically they're climbing the walls. And so we're going to form our combat groups. And the combat groups are like this. You need to have 5 or more troops to get 2 combat groups. We have 4 or less. So what does a combat group mean? It means they're lining up like this. So you have one guy in front, and then you have two guys behind. I'm going to just move these over to the side so you can see them. But you're going to have one guy in the front and two guys behind. And every one of these is like that. So here you're going to have one guy in front and one behind, 1 and 2, and then 1 and 1. Okay? I'm not going to physically do it because this game will take forever if I did that every time. Right now, it's very easy to understand. There's only one combat group in every direction. This is round 1, folks. This isn't meant to be a brain burner. Okay, so we form our combat groups. Nothing happens yet. We just form the group. And remember, the important part of forming a group is your strongest guy needs to be up front because it uses this number. So our spearman is up front, and then everybody behind uses the plus number. So every spearman behind them only has a 1. So the strength is 2 and then 1 for everybody behind them. Okay, so and there's not much we can do about it. That's just how it works. So now the Cauldrons and Boulders go next before we actually engage in combat. So they're trying to climb the wall, and we get to drop our boulders. So the boulders, if you remember, was a D3. So I like to do 1, 2, 3 as face value. And then 4, 5, 6, where 4 is 1, 5 is 2, and 6, wherever that is 3. Okay? So I go 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3 again. And I just roll a 6-sided die. Okay? So the forestmen, heavy footmen, have a hit point value of 1. So it just takes 1 damage to kill them. So the boulder is going to do 3 damage. And I'm doing this one. So that kills 1 unit. And it's done. Now, you could theoretically argue that since we have boulders on all of these, and you roll a minimum of 1, I don't even need to roll, right? Because even if I roll 1 with both of them, these guys die. And that is true. That is absolutely true. And that kind of math is something you got to be, pretty keen on. It'll save you some time in the game. The only thing that's a sticky wicket is this one, because there's 2 guys. Now, that brings us to the next set of rules for the game. One archer can only kill 1 guy. Doesn't matter how much strength he has. So these guys represent 2 hit points. Let's say this archer has 2 strength of damage. He can't kill both of the guys. He can only kill 1. Because it's 1 to 1. All right? But that's the rule for archers. The rule for boulders is if this boulder does 2 damage, it kills both guys. You get to take all the damage that boulder did and break it up and divide it up amongst the enemies however you see fit. So this boulder can kill both of those guys as long as I don't roll a 1. If I roll a 2 or a 3, it's an automatic win. Okay? All right, so let's not roll a 1. I rolled a 3, so boom, both of them are dead. The battle's over. There's nobody that makes it up the walls. So we killed them before they even climbed the walls. Now let's say that I rolled a 1. What happens next? Well, what happens after that is we assign the defenders to our combat groups. So in this case, we would have had a combat group that looked like this. So we would have had a spearman up front, a spearman in the back, and then one of the guys would have died because we were rolled at least a 1. And then you would have had one guy like this. So these are squaring up against each other. They're going to do melee now. So then what would happen is we do close combat outcome. And it's as simple as this. We did 2 plus 1 is 3 damage. Or no, I'm sorry. It's as simple as this. This is us, that's them. It's a D3, by the way. So I rolled a 3, they rolled a 2. Okay, so I did 1 damage, or because I rolled a 3 and they rolled a 2, I did 1 extra damage to them. So this guy does 2 damage, this does 1. That's 3 total damage that's done to them. And then this is 3 more. Or I'm sorry, this is a net of 1 more for me. So I just did 4 damage to them. and then this guy would do 1 damage to me, and so I would have to kill one of my guys off because it's simultaneous. And okay, scratch what I just said. I went and looked it up in the rules because I knew something wasn't quite right in my explanation, and here it is. This is 3 strength to 1. And then it gets modified by this. So everything I said so far is true. This is 3 strength plus 3 more is 6. This is 1 plus 2 more is 3. But now you have to take the difference. 6 minus 3 is 3. So that means this side did 3 damage to that side. And that's how this guy dies. Nobody dies on this side. So only one side takes casualties. And it's whichever side had the more strength after the die roll, because this modifies the strength. So I could have rolled a 1 here, which would have been very poor, and then rolled a 3 here, which would have been great for him. He would have had 4 strength, but this is still 5 strength for us. So no matter what I rolled, he was dead. And that's intentional, right? Because, you know, the designer doesn't want you to lose on the first round. It's a very handicap, or what is it, baby, you know, there's a lot of kindness in this first round. It won't be kindness later. But yes, that's how it works. You add up your strength and you add the die to it, add up their strength, add the die to it, and then whatever the offset is, so you take this amount minus that amount, and that's how much damage is done to the losing side. So this side gets killed, and now we won the war, and we don't even lose our guy. So my apologies for explaining that wrong. I'm really glad I paused and looked it up real quick. That's an extremely important thing. Now, a couple other things to point out. It gets modified by the wall, because the wall will start adding defense to the defender. It also, it's possible that when they start having battering rams and stuff like that, that changes things, because the battering ram will damage the wall. So there's things of that nature that get factored in. And in fact, I forgot one of them, and that is that this is a level 1 wall. That level 1 wall adds 1 to their strength. So I would have had even more strength against them. So let me make sure I'm explaining that correctly as well. Yes, I explained that one perfectly. So the way you resolve melee is this would be 2. This is 1 because you have to use his support value. And then this is another 1 that gets added to it. And then the die roll, whatever you roll, gets added to that. So it would have been a 3. And in this case, it was a 2. So this would have been 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 to 1, 2, 3. 7 minus 3 is 4. So we would have done 4 damage to the losing side. That's how this works. And so yes, the wall strength is huge for the melee combat. All right, so we win. We already identified that we get 3 wood. And the way it works is the wood starts, or the resources start with the first player getting to select what they want. So if there was like, you know, a gold or something, they could choose that. So they pickpocket gets a wood, and then it just goes down, and the deserter doesn't get anything. And remember, if you were playing by yourself, you then get an additional bonus of, I think it was 5 wood. And if you're playing as 2 players, you get a bonus of 3 wood each. Or sorry, 2 wood each. And then if you're playing as 3 players, you get a bonus of 1 wood each. So obviously we don't get any bonus. And that concludes round 1. So, oh my gosh, that's 44 minutes. So I guess it's because I was doing a lot of explanation, but round 1 is complete, and we are moving on to, round 2. So you're getting the gist of it. Hopefully it'll start to get a little clearer. The first player is now the Counterfeiter, and again, he only has 3 actions. There's nothing to research. All we have are, you know, we can build walls, towers, and then we can start building like the workshop or the archer's barracks, which is exactly what we want to do. We want to build the archers barracks. That's the reason why we gave him all those resources. So the archers barracks is going to be 4 wood and 1 brick. That's how we get the level 2. So we're going to go ahead and do that. So 4 wood. And 1 brick. And we get the level 2 barracks. And put that in place. Now, those cards I was telling you that I thought that the designer didn't need to put in the game, it would say that a level 2 barracks lets you unlock the archers, but right there it's level 2 archer. I mean, it's not as intuitive, but when you play the game, you start to realize that this is lined up with the level of the barracks. Okay, so that was 1 action. And then we're going to use another action. And the Counterfeiter is going to spend 1 wood. And we're going to get an archer. And he's just going to put him up on the wall for now. Doesn't have the ability to put them... Well, he can actually put them here. It's just a level 0 tower. So, and I think... So we're going to play it so everybody controls the tower that's to the left of their wall. So this is his wall, and then it's going to be to the left if you're looking from the outside. Okay, so that's the second action. Then we have a third action, and this is where he's a little stuck because we can't build any towers because the tower would cost a wood, and he doesn't have any. And so what we could do is we could give him one. And so, for example, the Smuggler will give him one of the... Actually, I don't know if we want that. The Pickpocket could actually use wood that's given to her from the Smuggler. See, if I give him the wood, then I can't give resources to the Pickpocket when it's the Pickpocket's turn. And we want the Pickpocket to start building some buildings because that's their special ability. So I could have the Pickpocket actually give him a wood. Here's my thoughts. I really want him to build more stuff. I could have him collect resources, yes, but that doesn't build him stuff this round, which is what I really want to do. But you know what? I think that's okay. We're going to go ahead and just... I know it stinks, but we're going to just collect some resources. And we're going to collect 2 wood. And then he's going to use his special ability to turn those into bricks. So yes, he is going to be the brickmonger for now, but that's okay. That's what we need him to do. And he's going to give 3 of those bricks to the Pickpocket because he knows the Pickpocket's going to use those to build various buildings when the time comes. And I don't think he needs to have so many bricks at the moment. So what would I have liked to have done is maybe give him a wood and then build a tower with it. So anyways, it's not the end of the world. Round 2 is not going to be that much worse than round 1, at least not yet. But we do need to get archers out on the field ASAP. So now we move on to the Smuggler. Remember, the Smuggler, for 1 action, can get double resources. So we're going to get 1, 2, 3, 4. And then for its second action and its third, it's going to build a tower and recruit an archer. So we're going to do both. So here's our archer, and then I'll go grab a tower. And remember, we said it's always going to be the one to the left. So the tower he's going to have to be responsible for is this one down here. And then he's going to get an archer on that tower. And it's a level 1. Now, in this case, the one's not going to help it in melee combat, but the one is hit points. It represents hit points as well. So as they have siege equipment, they could start damaging that tower. And yes, so now this archer that's here can shoot this way and basically control both sides. And that archer, even though there is no actual tower there, he could still do the same. Okay, that was his 3 actions. That was pretty quick. He has 3 wood that we can give, because remember, that was the whole point. He didn't want to give anything to Counterfeiter, so he could give. So he's going to give all that to the pickpocket. So we're going to let the pickpocket build some stuff here. So now the deserter comes on, and the deserter does need to spend 1 action to get 2 wood. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to move all that on. 1 action to get the 2 wood, and then 2 and 3 is he's going to do the same thing. He's going to get a tower and an archer. And remember, he gets to get another archer, because he can always hire 2. So he's going to hire a second archer, and then of course we get the tower, which that tower is going to be here on the bottom left. And he's going to put his archer there, of course. Level 1. And then the archer he's going to add is he's going to help out over here, because the pickpocket's going to be building some buildings. And so he at least helped the pickpocket out. Now, the pickpocket has 3 actions. And the first action is going to be to build a wall. Second action, to build a tower. So that's 2 wood. And why? Because if you'll notice, the pickpocket is slacking on his duties. And so we're going to get this wall in place. And this northeast tower in place. And thanks to the deserter, the pickpocket does not have to hire an archer, which is good. And now you're going to see 2 health point bars. This one is for the wall. Then this one over here is for the gate, because this is the gate to get into the castle. So the gate has a separate hit point value than the wall, and the battering rams, of course, are going to try to go through the gate. So that's something to bear in mind. So there's 2 separate hit point values there. And then there's 1 last action, and the pickpocket is going to build the workshop so we can start getting the cauldrons in place. And so let's look up the cost for the workshop. And I think if I did this right, we should have enough to do this. The workshop, level 1, is 3 wood. So remember, the pickpocket can always spend 1 resource less, so it only costs 2. And that was easy peasy. So we don't have any cauldrons in place yet, but we now have the ability to get one, and it'll cost us 1 wood for each character to buy a cauldron. So you can see how we're just burning through these actions, but we're starting to slowly get our castle going here, right? We have all the walls in place except for that 1 tower in the corner. That's pretty good. And this is pretty typical for me. I really favor getting the walls up and the archers out. And you've seen that that's exactly what I'm doing. The cauldrons and the stones are super powerful in the early game because they roll a D3 and they just do so much damage. And there's not a lot of troops coming in the early game. In the later game, you're going to have 20 troops coming up against the wall, and that boulder is going to kill 2. And then the cauldron will kill maybe 3. Right? So you're going to kill 5 units. Well, you still have another 15 to count for. So they get overwhelmed, right? They're not able to, you can't rely on the cauldrons and the boulders to defend in the later rounds. But in these early rounds, they really are extremely helpful. And what you don't want to do is lose your spearmen. You want to keep them alive. You want to kill as much as you can before they get up that wall. If you can keep everybody alive, that really helps for the later part of the game. Yeah, I mean, spearmen eventually get replaced because there's going to be better units. But the nice thing about spearmen is they're the ones that if you do have to take losses, casualties, they're the ones you pick, right? You're going to pick the spearmen. You get to pick your casualties. You just have like so many points of damage you have to give out. So what you want to do is you want your spearmen to stay alive long enough so they can be the casualties later. And then, of course, they're going to be replaced with better units and so forth. So anyways, no more rambling there. We're done with the action phase. So once you get the hang of it, it goes pretty quick. We are at 55 minutes, so that only took us 11 minutes, and that was even with explanation. So we're going to go ahead and roll the die. I rolled that's hard for me to read. I rolled a 1. So we're being attacked by beasts this round. And the beasts are an interesting one. They only attack from one direction. They do not attack from any other direction. So that's where the beasts can really snag you. And then if you'll notice here, the wolfmen never have gold. No matter which round it is, they never drop gold. So the wolfmen suck in the later rounds. You don't want them in the later rounds. Early rounds, not so bad. And then the beastmen, they're not bad. In fact, they're actually really rich in resources. So level 2 beastmen are going to still pay 3 wood. And that's true no matter which one we would have rolled. So it stays the same even in level 2. So there's no variance other than just the type of units we're going up against. But in terms of like rewards, it does change. And so you don't always get the same rewards every game. And that's the part where it's not as formulaic. Which unit you end up fighting could greatly dictate things. Now with the beastmen, like I said, they still roll for an attack direction, but you see there's no slashes. Like down here, it's 1/1, meaning one's going to attack in the main direction and one in every other. Here, everybody attacks one direction, and the wolves only attack in the first 2 rounds. So we're going to get 4 wolves and 2 giant spiders in whatever direction we end up rolling. So the wolves are represented like that, and the giant spiders are that. Okay, so what's our direction? I rolled a 6, which is a reroll. Reroll 4, which that one should be west. So 1 and 2 are north. So 2 of the 6 dice. So you have a 2 in 6 chance, a 1/3 chance that they're coming from the north. So if you're ever going to be a gambler and say, which side do I need to build my walls on first? It's the north. And the north, by the way, is where your gate is. So that's your weakest spot. So, but we rolled a 4, so they're coming from the west again. So we have these 4 wolves and 2 spiders. Now, one thing about this is that none of those are archers. And that's good news for us. So the beastmen do have special abilities. Or not beastmen, but I mean the beasts. They're immune to blindness, which we don't have our clerics yet. The defender's ranged attack is -1, which means our archers are useless. Our archers will do no damage to them. That's the part that stinks, because we get a -1 to our range attack. And the archers only have a 1. Okay. Now we can overcome this, and I'll show you how we will. So what that represents is that they're fast. They're super fast, and it's hard for our archers to hit them. The spiders jump over ditches, but they won't jump over the moat. The endurance of the walls is cut in half, rounded up, so the 1 gets cut in half, but you round it up, which means it's still a 1. If it was a 2, for example, if it was a strength 2 wall, it would be reduced to a strength 1 wall. So the spiders make the walls a lot. They can climb those walls a little easier. And then, of course, if you have dragons and hawks, they fly over. And then the dragon, if it's alive, will automatically kill a unit. So we don't have anything that to worry about. So let's go ahead and start the round. So this is a big problem because we have a lot less troops over here than we do in some of the other directions, and we can't move our troops yet. It's not allowed. So we start with the defender's range unit attack. That's us. Remember, our RFS is reduced by 1. So our strength is 1. It gets reduced by 1, so it becomes 0. Now, what we can do is we can add our units. So this unit and that unit can add their strength together and become a 2. So they can become a 2, which gets reduced to a 1. So we get to kill one thing. Or we get to do damage to one thing. And let's make sure about hit points. The wolf has 1 hit point, but the giant spider has 2. So we're not going to be able to kill a spider, but we can at least kill one of the wolves. So that's what we're going to do. So 1 wolf dead. And remember, RFS minus 1 meant that normally the 2 archers would be able to kill 2 things. But because it's minus 1, if they both just attacked separately, their ones would be reduced to 0. They would have done no damage. You can cumulatively add them together and then, use them to take down one guy. And you're going to do that like with dragons, right? It's going to take multiple archers added together to kill one dragon, for example. So it's the same concept. Okay, so their range attack goes, nothing happens. Siege machines, nothing happens. Then we're going to regroup the enemy so they rush forward. So all of them are coming forward. I'm a little nervous, actually. Okay, so then defenders' range units get another attack. So again, same concept. We can only kill one of them, so we're going to just at least kill 2 wolves before they made it to the wall. That's better than nothing. So now they're going to, we're going to regroup our defenders, which just means we're doing that. Let me make sure. I think this might actually be a spot where we can start moving troops. 1 second. Okay, yeah, this is where we can move all of our troops. And so the rule for regrouping is you can go from a tower to a wall that's adjacent. So I could regroup, for example, and move an archer in. So that way that archer is doing support, right, in that group. And I can regroup this archer also to do support. And remember, the wall has a capacity of 4. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 units now that are going to contribute to this battle. And that's the best I can do. And yes, the regroup allows me to do that. Now, what about the other spearmen? Can I get them into the battle? And the answer is yes, but it's going to take multiple turns because they're regroup. You got 2 choices. You can go into the keep, and then on the next turn, you can go from the keep. The keep is adjacent to anything. So one turn, so what the regroup action would be to move into the keep, and then the next regroup, the next round, they can go anywhere. Or you can go to a tower and then eventually get there that way. But it does mean, though, that these guys over here on this wall could go to the keep and there. So anybody anywhere else on the board can get there in 2 rounds. They can't get there this round, though, which is when we need them. So I have to move the archers. And just to play it safe, I can just, move everything here and then try to... But the keep has a limit to how many they can have, too. So I'm really not going to... So for conservative sake, we're going to move all the spearmen to the tower and that spearman up there to the tower, because if they somehow do something here and kill our units and there's another round, we need them to pitch in and help defend that wall. But I'm not going to move them because then I have to move them back. And anyways, I know I'm sounding like an emo kid, but basically, I just don't think it's going to be necessary. I really still think we're going to win this battle. But just in case, I'm declaring it so that way there's no retconning later. Okay, so spiders are involved. Cuts the wall strength in half, but our wall strength in half rounded up still becomes a 1. We form our combat groups, which I did. Remember, we have 4 units. There's only 1 combat group. The archers and the spearmen are in the back. Use the cauldron. So this is where we got to use our cauldron, or the boulders. So I rolled a 3. So that does 3 damage. And what we're going to do is we're going to kill the spider, which is 2 hit points, and 1 of the wolves. And so that was a big help right there. So now they form their group, and it's going to look like this. Because they get to form their combat group as well. So the spider's going to go up front. And why is that? You'll see in a second. The spider up front is a 2, and as support they're a 2. The wolf is a 1 and a 1. So it really doesn't matter who's up front, but that's normally whoever has the best front strength goes in the front. And then, and then you go backwards from there. So if it was somehow that the wolf had a 2 strength up front and only a 1 for support, the wolf would have been in front because the spider is just as good on support as it is on... You basically make it so they have the best group possible. Okay, as always, we're going to be the white die. They're going to be the black. And we're going to roll. So this is a 1, which is not good. And that's a 2. And I'm not going to do this for every battle, but I'm going to do this in the beginning as we're learning. This is going to be a 2 strength. This is 1, 1, and 1, right? And we're up against this, which is a 2 strength and a 1. And then this is a 2. And then I'm just going to change the 4 to a 1 so you don't have to do so much in your head math. And then this is also a 1, right? So I'm just trying to show you how all the math comes together. So this is 2. And now that part I know by heart, but you just look here, right? 2. And then this is 1. So 2, 3, 4, 5 strength. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 strength. Okay, so we have 7 minus 5 is 2. So we do 2 damage worth of stuff to them. So we kill this. Okay, so then they do a loyalty test. Well, we have the outcome of the close combat, which is we're still in close combat. So they're still locked up. There's no change. If they would have killed all of our units, then they would have destroyed the town. If you ever get to this phase where they're destroying the town, just quit. You're not going to win the game. The damage here is brutal, and you cannot recover. I promise you. Now, the loyalty test is an interesting one. You're supposed to look at all the hit points of the troops that were in the battle, and if over 50% of the hit points are lost, then they roll a die. And that die roll is based on, oh gosh, there was a chart somewhere. Where is that chart? Why am I brain farting on this? The chart is, the loyalty is based on which unit. So like, for example, the beasts. Oh, yeah. The beasts never retreat. That's the first thing. So there is no loyalty test for the beasts. But like, for example, the barbarians are the most likely to retreat. And your die roll has to be greater than, and that's the part I'm trying to remember. And I would swear, because this is the chart for how much damage your spikes do. So when you build, when you have a moat, if there's 5 units that go across your spikes or your moat, one of them will die. That's what this is. This is a 20% chart. And there is another chart for when they want to retreat and they lose their loyalty. 1 second. Okay, I figured it out. It cracks me up. Okay, so this little pink bar up along the top there, see that? Barbarians' morale is 5. So that's their morale at the start. So they have to lose 50% of their hit points. That's the first criteria. If that happens, you roll a die. And this die number has to be greater than that morale number that you see there in order for them to retreat. And in the case of the beasts, their morale number is 6, which means it's impossible for them to retreat the first round. However, what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to, so like if their morale was 5, what you could do is you could put this little marker. This is where this comes in. I put this marker on the 5 or 6 in this case, because that's the beast morale. So we did a morale check, and they still didn't run away, right? Because it's impossible to roll higher than a 6. But what happens is we're going to go through another round of combat, and that 6 is going to drop to a 5. So if we get to this phase, and somehow or another that thing doesn't die, then it is possible that they will retreat, because now it's dropped to a 5. And then after that, if we go another round, it would drop to a 4 and so forth. Eventually, they would retreat, because eventually that number is going to get so low that you're finally rolling higher than the number. But I assure you, with all that is holy and merciful, that we don't have to do another step. These guys are locked in melee combat. There's no range attack. There's nothing. But this is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 points minimum. This is 1 point minimum, plus 3 is 4. The best he can do is a 4. I already have him beat. There's no point in continuing this battle. The guy's dead. We just have to do another round of math. But there's no point. We can just call it. And we do win the battle. But I am at least getting you through the motions, because it's not going to be this easy when there's 100 units on the board. And so then what I'm going to do is I just put my guys back. And now hopefully it makes sense why I didn't bother moving these guys. I just verbally told you that they would be. And then boom, we're going to set the board back to the way it was, or the way it should be. And we win. And remember, we get 3 wood. So let's divide up the spoils again. This time the counterfeiters first. And the 3 wood's going to go like so. And that brings us to round 3. And boom, we're already on round 3 out of 20. And I'm going to go ahead and stop this video and get it uploaded, and then we'll do another couple rounds. Thanks for watching. As always, stay awesome.